Scifi Builder is now live. Streaming miniatures.
Hello. Really should have cleaned that better. There we go. My garbage can's all the way over there. 1 second. So I can throw my paper towels in it as I use them. How's everybody doing today? I can see what people mean by the lag on YouTube. It's like a good 30 seconds behind. I'll have to see if there's anything I can do about that in the settings. Doing good for a Sunday, huh? Forgot how empty this bottle was. So you're going to add it to the other one. Well, it could be worse. It could be Monday. See if I got that bottom layer coming free. Looks like I might. Go. Gotta buy more of that. I'll probably do that next Friday. That's when I'll be off. We're 26 away from 1,000. So when we break 1,000 subscribers, we begin building the Hummel. We've gotten a lot in the past week, so whoever did whatever changed to get me some notice, somebody spread the word or whatever, thank you. That's 1,000 YouTube subscribers. If I had 1,000 subscribers if I had 900 subscribers on Twitch, I'd be happy. Flip you around. The one thing I like about these tracks is they are gluable with regular model cement. I was half tempted to glue them down, get all the road wheels and everything on, but they'd still be too flexible to pull that trick off well. But it does mean when I do go to glue them down to the road wheels, the glue can eat through the paint and hold them on a bit better than your standard old school vinyl track. And it does hold paint relatively well as well. And I'm not too worried about keeping this coat perfect. There's going to be a lot of earth brown washes and some graphite treatment as well. I'm going to clean the desk real quick before we get started on the tank itself. There we go. Hey, model student, how you doing? Yeah, next stream date again will be Friday after today. No worries. Either one works. Welcome back. How you been? We got a nasty thunderstorm through here yesterday. And I think I decided on a setting for this. I don't want to do a farmhouse. I'll do a hedgerow. And it's not just a row of bushes, it's actually like a sunken road with a bunch of bushes on the very top. Sometimes trees, sometimes other things. It'll be something interesting. Hey Almanax, how you doing? All the unusual suspects are here today. Good to see. Yes, he is. He should be able to read the chat, so... Trying to be very careful around this crow's foot antenna. Yeah, just trying to give a bit of depth. Gonna be trying out the Vallejo German color set. And I'll show something when I get to it, how their dark yellow is more mustard colored than the Tamiya one. Not inherently incorrect, but it's just not what I'm used to. So, trying to, kind of branch things out a little bit. I'll probably highlight it a little bit with the buff that they include in there, just to give it some more dimension. Like, when this tank got destroyed, it was literally 2 months old. Not a lot of time for fading, not a lot of time for radical chipping. And being it was one of the command tanks, it didn't really get frontline use. By the time it was destroyed, they'd already lost a few tanks from the unit. And it was moving through an open field in the French countryside, so there's that. kind of like on the Puma, just whatever I can do to give some of the larger spaces a little more individuality, you know? I'm not gonna get those stupid photo etch templates for putting in splatters. They don't feel natural to my eye. I forgot to glue those in. I think I saved those screws. Better have. If not, they're just sitting on top of the garbage out next to the house. Well, I think what happened is a firefly got it when it was out in the open. It was enough to disable it and kill the crew. And since the tank hadn't been moved and looked largely intact from the air, later on, the typhoon that got the credit for the longest time also hit it, which finally blew the turret off. And then it was subsequently moved and stuff salvaged off of it by whoever at a much later time. That's my idea. But like I said, the only picture that we've got is directly from the rear with a lot of stuff stripped off. So there's no way to tell where it got hit, how it got hit, what hit it. All we know is that the turret was blown off, and then the hull was rolled forward. From that position, the tracks were stripped, the fenders are stripped, the sheet metal surrounds on the exhaust were removed. Yeah. Well, if it was a French tank, yes. And from reports I've read, while there were the occasional thunderstorms in the area where the engagement happened, the terrain was not extremely muddy. So I'm going to base how I put mud on the underside on my RC Tiger, which it mainly would accumulate right in this area, with a bit of spattering here, and some mud here. Very little is actually on these arms. Hello. But we had one hell of a thunderstorm roll through last night. Like, I had my head resting on my wall, and I felt the wall actually moving in and out because of it.
Almanac said hi over there in YouTube chat, Freeze Fire. At Freeze Bus Railroad said, wow, well that's all we've been having here night after night, but it just let up on Friday, and it's been nice since.
Now, with how dry it's been here, we need as much of the rain as we can get, and it was raining cats and dogs. And I seem to sleep better when it's storming and raining. This one just happened to hit before we went to sleep. Supposed to get another one by about 2 or 3 o'clock. Oh, and I ordered a new printer last night. Had to dip into the savings for the other thing, but I need it. There's things I need for some of the models I'm doing, and I had started a figure which just immediately
Almanac said, I
got
wish
put
it
on
would
hold.
finally just rain here. Been sunny all day, but air is just so heavy and humid.
Well, the other reason we need the rain here is we've had non-stop
Almanac
fires.
said, oh, which did you buy?
Just a Saturn III. The one that died was a Saturn II. I would have liked to have gotten the Jupiter 2, but I didn't think $1,000 was something I wanted to spend right now. Maybe in the future.
At Freeze Bus Railroad said, well, I'll be doing some models here tonight, but it's car show time.
Yeah. The car scene here is a bit disappointing, to be honest. So once we pass the 1,000 subs on YouTube, I'll drop whatever it is I'm working on and work on the Hummel. In that time, though, until we reach that point, which could still be another month or two, I'm gonna put up another poll after the stream of what you guys would like to see me work on next after this. I might just limit it to 3 this time. And since we've just done a tiger, the initial tiger won't be on the list. You got $100 for that kit? Because I just spent $300 on a printer. If there's something special you'd like to see me build, let me know and I can add it to my Amazon wish list and you can surprise me with it. But yeah, that's not an easy kit right now, because every place outside of HobbyLink Japan wants an arm and a leg for it, when I know it's only like a $50 or $60 kit. But they all want to make up for their shipping and all this other stuff. There's that. The hull is done. But yeah, I'd love to do the Glaug or the Recon pod. Yay! Honestly, that would be a good change of pace, too. Let's see here. To Amazon we go! I just want to see what its availability is and what they're asking for on it.
Era Studio said sorry. I was grocery shopping.
No worries. Just brings up Japanese flags. Not flag. Wow. It auto-corrected that. Okay. The only other way I found it is by just doing Hasegawa. I'm okay. See if it's even available on Amazon right now. The Recon pod is. It's $76. It's already in my list.
Said I need to finish my tiger butt tracks.
Yeah, the command pod is not showing up. And if you try searching for it, it won't. It autocorrects to Hasegawa flag and gives you a shit ton of Japanese flags. Yeah, it's not even on Amazon right now.
And now I have a puppy kicking my bald head. Era Studio said licking.
No, we all heard it before the autocorrect. Your puppy is now picking you. I'm not going to worry about the insides of the wheels. And yes, we will be using the smaller idler.
be honest, what I would really love to see is a custom printed 1/72nd HWR00 MKII destroyer monster.
That would be very difficult to do, even with the larger printer that I've got coming on the way, because it's so big.
Eris Studios said I tried pre-shading, but I think I went to heavy on base color. Oh well.
I have the Mike Salzo resin kit from back in 2005.
Almanac said would be a goofy boy. Green Element said check out my previous work on my Instagram app.
Yeah, the key about pre-shading is you've got to allow the shading to show through. A lot of people do pre-shading, they paint everything back over like normal, and that's not exactly how it works. Let's go on eBay real quick then, since Amazon didn't have it. Because I know the kit's out. $69 free delivery from Japan. I'll put that on my watch list. That's the cheapest one. So yeah, you're looking at about $73-74 after tax. That's the cheapest one I can find. I can never find it in stock at Hobbylink Japan as well. That's the other problem.
At Dragonworks said at the Dizzy Builder, if you don't want those Takom Tiger Eye traps, I'll trade you a set of DS Tiger Eye traps.
I still need them. I'm not going to use them entirely. But I've got a plan for a Ryefield Burj Tiger. And I want to have chunks of the track with it. Because I'm going to make it look like it's being pulled out of a hole. Or it's been pulled out of a hole when it's on the back of a Fawn SLT 56 for recovery. Kind of like it was found abandoned and then buried, trees growing through the grills. And I want chunks of the track on the trailer as well. So I still have a use for them, but I'm not going to use them outright as Takom intended. Sorry. I've just heard they're an outright pain if you try and use them as they're supposed to be. Okay, let's get you closed back up. So here is the Vallejo Dark Yellow. And I'll show you what it's like next to the Tamiya Dark Yellow. I think the Vallejo one is more correct in its base tone, where the Tamiya one represents an extremely faded example. It's also a little bit greener. This is a bit browner. I want to try this one. And like I said, we can fade it with some of the ivory to bring it more up to what we'd expect. So I'm going to work with that. I want to try something different on this one, you know? If I still don't like how it looks after it dries, I can go back and mist it with the Tamiya one as well to highlight. I want to give it a good shake though. Shake, shake, a shake, shake, a shake it. Yeah, this is the cheapest one I can find. I know, but that's in country. That's not tariffs, that's not shipping, that's not anything else. So that's the cheapest I can find it. Like I said, I think HobbyLink Japan's sold out. But even their shipping can be atrocious. Yeah, it's $40 on HobbyLink Japan. Sold out. So, yeah, I couldn't even get it through them if I wanted. So, eBay is my only option right now. So looking at the raw color, since the plastic does do things to it, it's really not too far off. We'll see how it looks when it dries. We're going into some new and unknown territory here. Which is what it should look like. Now another model I could work on, my father found at the IPMS Nationals, was the Dragon reissue. Oh, I forgot. There's one thing I must do before we can do this thing. Yeah. He found the Dragon reissue of the Italeri BMW R75 with the rider in 1/9 scale. So there's that, there's the Doom Turtle, the German Life Flight helicopter, the large the large Round 2 TIE Fighter. I forgot these latches. These retain the decks in an upright position when they're servicing them. I got the one there, but I missed these two.
Almanac said a proper TIE fighter might also be a fun one.
Yeah, it's a proper TIE fighter. It's the original Episode 4, New Hope, whatever you want to call it. No folding wings, no magical this or that, just a bog standard TIE fighter, you know. They're also releasing a TIE Interceptor based on the same molds later this year. Yeah, I kind of like that color a bit more than the Tamiya one. Like I said, the Tamiya one feels like a faded version of it. I might do a test at a later time off stream to see how it looks using the Tamiya over this one to actually fade it. To see if that might be a viable option for it as well. You see how I'm leaving a lot of the black outline for right now?
Almanac said looks less mustardy on the model and more sandy.
Yeah. With the gray of the plastic showing through it to lighten it up a bit, it helps. And the contrast of the black. So I'll demonstrate now that we've got a good portion of an area, you know, blocked in. Once you get everything, you know, pre-picked like that, go back over from a distance, very lightly misting it. And you can do it in multiple passes. Just building it up enough for you. Right? Leaving a lot of the black to show, but filling in most of the color. Going back over the photo etch. And that helps give the paint kind of the look that it's oil stained already, you know. The camouflage will help hide a little more of it. But that's how I do my pre-shading overall. This is what also. Oh, your line work is excellent. But that's also why I don't prime totally in black or anything like that, because then you have to go back over with another layer of white or light gray to achieve that result. And most hobby paints are made to adhere to the plastic.
felt more of its mustard toned back.
I think that'll die down once I start putting the red, brown, and the green on it. But like I said, I'm also going to go back with the ivory and go over the upper areas just to give it a bit more delineation in the panels. But it's definitely not as mustardy as it looked concentrated in the bottle. You'll notice this ring outside the main turret ring area. The Germans eventually learned that shots were getting wedged in there and stopping the turret from moving or causing other damage. That's part of what actually allowed Tiger 131 to get captured. Is a shot had glanced off the jacket right here on the barrel, shattered. Part of it went this way and sliced through the lifting lug. The other part of it went through the roof, and another piece went into the turret ring and stopped it. But I'm kind of enjoying this warmer tone. It'll help what I want to do for the weathering standoff. Because I noticed when I went through the Ardennes area and even the areas closer to Paris and even the Normandy countryside, the soil there is much paler. Especially on things like the roads and the hedgerows. It's a very light white-yellow, paler dust and dirt. And this might help with that when I go to do that step of the weathering as well. Because having the Zimmerit, I don't have the latitude of just the plain metal where I can do my streaking. So I have to rely on other methods here. Get some more music going. So yeah, there's going to be some experimenting going on with this one. I'm very happy with the kit though. Another thing I noticed though when we were traveling through France and Belgium, a lot of the countryside areas where a lot of the fighting happened have really not changed that much since 1945, since the war ended. A lot of the farm buildings that are there are still the same buildings.
09 Davo said got the dragon kit of one of Whitman's previous Tigers.
Is that the one where he's got his crew members standing in front of it for their, I think it was their first Knights Crossing in Russia. But it was where they were all being awarded. You're getting spattery. You got some tip dry.
Said the one where he
attacked
the British convoy.
So it's pretty much the same kind of tank. Not a command version, but it's the same kind of later model Tiger.
Said, oh no. Not tip dry.
That's what she said. The Dragon one's good, but Takom got the Zimmerit just a bit better on this, I think. And that's just going off of real examples I've seen. So far, yeah, I'm warming up to this yellow.
09 Davo said, but yeah, our buildings are brick and old already. Unless they took a direct hit from something, ITLL still be there, though with shrapnel damage in places.
So the Zimmerit,
So what was the
depending on who you talk to now, was originally an anti-magnetic paste. Meant so that you couldn't run up and slap a magnetic mine or a limpet mine on the side of the hull. Which, that theory still holds up. Problem is, the Germans were the only ones using magnetic mines at that time in the war. Use of it got suspended in late 44 due to the possibility it was catching fire, but that's also been disproven. And there's some now that say it breaks up the overall panel, so you can't get a flat reflection off of it, so it's also part camouflage. So instead of the sun that would highlight that entire panel from an angle, you got all this corrugation that breaks up that look. I'm of the school that it was probably the anti-magnetic properties. It's definitely not an anti-slip coating because it's not on the top of the turret. And on many vehicles, it's not on the top of the hull. The only upper area where it is right here. Which is also where you'd be able to reach with a magnetic mine if you went that route. So, to be honest, without a time machine to really go back and infiltrate what was going on at the time, no one will ever really know. Unless someone, by some miracle, finds some documentation stating what it was originally meant for. I'm gonna go with the anti-magnetic paste side of things. We just ran out of paint. The antennas were also rather thick copper or steel tubing that was also painted the hull color of the vehicle from what people have been able to find.
09 Davos asks, what thinner do you use with that Vallejo stuff?
This is their air range, so I'm just using it straight from the bottle. I'm not thinning it. If I have to thin it, I just use Windex. Vallejo is a very intuitive paint when it comes to the hobby. Would it work better with their other stuff? Possibly. I've never had to buy it, so I'm not going to go out on that limb. But it works with what I like to do and how I like to do things now, so I'm going to keep at it.
09 Davos says same as Duff. Tried it. Works nicely.
Yep. I've been using Windex for decades. It stretches the paint. It doesn't tear it like water or alcohol can. It's the detergents in the Windex. Any ammoniated window cleaner, really.
At SFC.M said, I would imagine that it would also depend on the logistics at the time of manufacture in regards to the anti-mag coating.
It was pretty widespread through all the main factories building it. And there were even kits sent out to the field to field apply it to vehicles that were built before its implementation. There's even photo records of early Tigers with the drum cupola having waffle pattern Zimmerit applied, like what you would find on a Stud 3. They weren't very common, but there's enough out there that there's plenty of photos of it. Trying to be nicer to my model than I just was.
At Dragonworks said at the Busy Builder, no worries. Maybe someone else will want to trade.
I don't know. In light of RFM and Takom's tracks, these to me are excellent. They've got the open guide teeth. They've got the chevrons on the track surface. They've got the end pins. They glue together with regular glue. And honestly, outside of like frill tracks, these are probably the best ones you can get in plastic on the market. That's what I didn't want to happen. Oh. Okay. I may hold off on painting and installing the exhaust components because I wanted to go through and dent these up a little bit. Just a little with a rotary tool to kind of put some creases in them.
09 Davo said, yeah, much prefer building metal tracks, but don't enjoy the paint chipping off.
And I want to do some stuff on those. And I can't install these until after they're painted. And there's things I want to do to this area before I put them in, after I paint it. But yeah, Zimmerit, unless somebody finds some, like, production level or unit level paperwork directing the units on what to do and why, I'm sticking with the anti-magnetic properties thing. It seems to make the most likely sense. I think someone even tried to recreate it based off of an analysis of an original piece of Zimmerit, trying to find out what it was made of. And it had good flame retardant properties, it had good anti-magnetic properties. So it all adds up to that same premise, you know. I think the reason for its discontinuation was that it was becoming too expensive to produce at that time of the war, when resources were already getting smacked around, and the adhesives and materials in it could be much better used elsewhere. And let's face it, by that time in the war, the Russian equipment had gotten good enough. They weren't needing to rely on suicide troops to run up and slap a magnetic mine on it as much. Another reason for ordering the printer, aside from the fact that the figure that I was printing in the middle of it's dying, is while the Schwimmwagen is finished, there's things I wanted to add to the back seat. Model student came up with the idea of the crate full of beer bottles, right? And I was about to print out that crate when that happened. And there's also the MG34 rounds, wow, brain can't even fart right now. The magazine holder for the MG34 rounds. You know, there's a bunch of little stuff I still wanted to add to it. I was also about ready to start printing out buildings for the tripod diorama. Or the vignette, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, on this I think though I'm gonna have a hedgerow embankment on one side of the model with the turret kind of facing over the bushes just barely. And these guys with the binoculars looking out. Just something simple that gives it context for when and where it is. Yeah, the exhaust stuff can wait. So, Davos, it sounds like you've got the... Going back to the earlier conversation, you've got the tiger that he got stuck on a building. Thank you. I don't know if I posted the shorts on there yet for that. I wish I could just link my YouTube on my Instagram, but it won't allow me to. But I can link my Instagram on YouTube, which is kind of not right. I'm trying my hand at realistic scenery. Something I never really got into when I was younger. But as you can see from those videos and pictures, something as simple as that just adds a little bit more and gives it some life. So why not add a happy tree or some happy grass?
Said, yeah, think so. It's not getting done as Whitman's Tiger, it's getting done as a 505 Panthers battling command tank.
So you're putting it on the Russian front then? Or no, you're doing the Charging Knights, which I think they were Russian front. I don't think they were in Normandy. I don't think they were Western. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Said, yeah, the Russian front one, yes.
Okay. So, did the later ones have the yellow barrel jacket? Or was that just the mid-production ones that they put the yellow around the barrel? But yeah, it's the same kind that Whitman backed into a building on his little rampage through Villars.
Said no idea. It sounds like it was only one tank. Said, and no one really knows why.
I believe the one in the Russian Museum was a 505th, but it was a mid-production. And there was a late production one that had the Roman...
Said, yes, it's been repainted.
Yeah, the Roman numeral 3 on the barrel jacket. And it was primarily yellow and brown. Yeah, do you have the books Tigers in Combat? I was going to say, if you have the Tigers in Combat Volume 1 and 2, the 505th has a good chunk in one of them. And what I found interesting in those books is don't concentrate on the foreground subject. Look in the background and you'll see some really interesting stuff.
Check out my previous work on my Instagram app. Almanax asks, is it just on my phone? When watching on my phone, that new Twitch chat shows up as larger text on the left side of the main window of stream?
That might just be on your phone, because it should be a smaller window on the right side. Unless there's a phone interface logic that does something that, so you can... If that's the case, that's good. It means people can see it easier. Okay, so there's the wheels painted. Let me clean out the airbrush. Take a stand up and move around break, because it's been well over an hour. It's actually probably... yeah, it's been over an hour. That'll give this a second to firm up a bit too. We'll come back and start doing the green and brown patches.
At Dragonworks said I found a Hasegawa 172nd log on a Japanese auction. Buy it now price is at $32, the prison rape shipping cost.
Like I said, I'd gladly do one, but at 70 plus with free shipping off eBay is probably the best deal I'm gonna find. Because of how Japanese auction sites work. Not exactly the most reliable for me to go to. I don't have a... what's the word I'm looking for? I don't have an intermediary to work with the Japanese site for me. That's the other reason I don't use them very often, is because that. But if you guys are interested in seeing me get that, or if there's any other subject you'd rather me build and want to help me work towards it, there is a link on my profile. There's a link on the Twitch page, and I'm posting it here as well. So if you want to follow that link for future projects, it's up to you. Not necessary, though. Why am I being...
At the Busy Builder 4071 sent a link.
Hold on. Something's going on. The other reason I don't use a lot of the other sites is I don't trust them getting my stuff back if something goes wrong. I've heard horror stories. Alright, get that cleaned out enough for the next shot. Road wheels will not need camouflage on them. Move this over here for a sec. And you. And there it is. Give the bench a clean before we take our break. Now, once the Vallejo's dried, Windex won't dent it. Tamiya strips off with Windex. So if you get Windex on your cutting mat, or not Windex, if you get Vallejo on your cutting mat like I have, the dollar store Totally Awesome Cleaner, Formula 409, which is the same basic chemical, will work too. Drive sprockets over here as well. But I know I've been on a German-centric kick lately. So the next model I do after this, I would like to be something not German. It could still be a tank. It could still be military, or it could be civilian. But that's why I've got the Doom Turtle. Figure maybe I can get going on that. Alright. Now we'll get that over here for now. Back into the front. I wanted to compare so we're done with the yellow. I can put that back. Red brown, armor brown, medium olive, and the dark green. These will all need shaking. Kind of like that one. Not the red brown. That's more for the primer. We're gonna go with that one and that one. Come on, go back into place.
At Dragonworks, it found a 1/72 Regault Scout Type 2. Sent them to your Instagram.
I've already got the Regault. That's actually sitting in the display case behind me. It's off camera. Oh, but you got the Scout type. Okay. Yeah, they're not high on my priority list right now, but I appreciate it. But I'm gonna put up the pause screen real quick, take a move around break, get a snack, and probably a drink, and I'll be right back. So, give me about 5 minutes. If you've all been watching and waiting, also get up, move around a little bit. It'll help your joints, and you won't get a blood clot in your legs. Alright, we're back. Gonna have me my little snack real quick. Then I want to give this a little more time to cure up.
Era Studios said, Lippy.
Forgot we had that command.
Dream Elements said Builder is making lippy snacky noises. Hope you brought some for the rest of us.
Nope. So how has everybody's weekend been so far? My singular day has been okay. That's not good. Actually, before I get in with the camo, I might do some very, very light fading with the ivory. Forgot about that. Because it still does feel a little bit dark to the eye. I don't want it as light as the Tamiya one. But just something from above, just to help it out, might not be a bad thing. And maybe I'll learn how to speak one day. What we'll do is we'll actually add it to the base color. Because just going straight with it, nah, that's too bright. So we did 6 drops of the brown, 3, 4 drops of the ivory, okay. We're not going to need a lot of it for what we're doing. Why are you getting stuck now when you weren't before? Weird. Okay. So this should brighten it up just a hair. Taking it out of that deeper mustard area just a little bit. Yeah, I like that. still warm, not as green or pale as the Tamiya one. And what this will do is it still keeps it dark enough. I can go back with the ivory, and anywhere the Zimmerit's been chipped, I can kind of highlight around it with the straight ivory color. Already out. Six. Two, three, four. I think after this we'll work on the TIE Fighter. Pretty basic build, not a lot of craziness going into it. I mean, black for the vents on the wings, black and dark gray for the cockpit, azure blue, or what is it, RLM 78? Yeah. For the main body color. Go. throw a little on the wheels. Just so they start to match up.
At Dragonworks said it's a busy builder. The Japanese site I go through is an intermediary called scifi.
I just don't have a lot of faith in those sites. I've heard some horror stories, Dragonworks. Like I said, I do appreciate it. If I get around to them, it might be closer to, say, Christmas time. It really depends. I've already got 5 other Macross kits to finish up. Just let me use the last little tidbit in the cup. Nope. I've got a YF-21, YF-19 Batroid, VF-11, VF-1 Fighter and Batroid, and a VF-25 with Typhoon armor.
At Dragonworks said just pay with PayPal goods and services. You're protected.
Yeah, like I said, it's not on my radar right now. And I just laid out $300 for a new printer, so I don't exactly have that laying around. So by the time I actually have the funds up, it probably won't be available again. Not at that price. So yeah, there's a lot working against me on that. I appreciate the enthusiasm, I really do. I just can't legitimize that kind of expenditure at the moment. After having to fix a lot of things that are broken around here. Sorry, just trying to waste the last of that batch I mixed up. We did get my son's car working properly, it seems. The wiring and the fuel pump were the bad actors in that situation. Because all these kits that you guys see me get, aside from times when people like Ares or Leopard 2A7 DK have assisted in the acquisition of things, 95% of what you see here is personally funded. So having to get that printer took away a couple months worth of new acquisitions, so it's probably not going to be until closer to November, December when I even think about getting those. You just wanted to gum this thing up, didn't you?
Almanax asks I'm back. Did I miss any earth-shattering revelations?
No, we just mixed a bit of ivory in with the base color and misted it on, mostly from above or from higher angles. Just to brighten it up, because it did feel a bit too dark, and it added a bit more contrast to the finish. We're going to start the camouflage stripes now. Just taking an extra minute here because it felt like this paint wanted to start gumming up on me. Because I'd let too much of it dry on the inside of the cup. So I'm putting some alcohol through the airbrush to kind of break up what's in there and get it spraying better.
Almanax asks, so you're kind of both pre and post shading the sand color?
A little bit, yeah. I don't want to give it that color modulation, overly faded, unnatural light direction, conflicting shadows look. But I just want to give it a bit more depth. Alright. We'll start with the green since it looks like the brown overlaps it. Let's shake you up a bit longer. I don't know how long these things sat before I got them.
Almanax said whatever works for you. And as you said, this was a rather new vehicle at the time of its demise.
It was issued in early July, destroyed in mid-August. Or late June, early July.
At Dragonworks said there is a serious lag in the messages.
On the YouTube side, yeah, it's about 30 seconds, I've noticed. Alright. Yeah, I like that kind of pea soupy green color.
Almanax said 30 seconds on a good day. Up to 50
Yeah.
on a bad day.
Yep, Almanax is not wrong. It seems the Twitch side has less latency issues, but it's also got its own problems. I hate that Takom makes their color guide so small.
are you using?
I'm not too sure. It's whatever one comes with the Badger Velocity stock. This was actually sent to me by Solway Studios in appreciation for supporting his channel. And I really feel bad that I have not been able to catch more of his stuff. Ever since getting my new job, I work on more of the days that he streams, and I'm not able to tune in as much. He's done an hours change recently, so I've been catching him more in the evenings and afternoons when I'm able to, but still not enough.
Almanac said 0.21 millimeters, just
Okay.
FYI.
I've never honestly I've never paid close attention to my needle sizes. I've just made them work. I've learned how to make the paint, the pressure, and everything else kind of just work together. I bet if I paid a bit more attention and actually, you know, gave more of a care, I'd have a lot more interesting effects happen, but it does what I need it to. Yeah, I can come back to the exhaust shreds later. Takom also doesn't like to give top-down views of their camouflage schemes. And this is the only one I've really got to go off of since the vehicle is in such terrible shape in the pictures. And you see none of it, so it's... My understanding is the camo scheme we see here is actually more heavily based on Tiger 008 and 009 from the same unit, and how they've been done there. Because there's more photos of those particular vehicles. And again, they've gone and done image reversing on that. So, I gotta make it up as I go along anyway, apparently. Hooray for me. But I appreciate those who are watching and following along. It's been a big help. Hopefully we can continue growing the YouTube side of things.
Elmanox asks, aren't you most of the time anyways, to be honest?
Aren't I what most of the time? Appreciative? Yeah. But it still helps to let people know. It'd be rude not to.
Elmanox said that. And figuring it out your own way. Hooray for you, winking face emoji.
I'm a big boy now. Well, it's better that than I'm in danger. Now, the hardest trap to stay out of with Zimmerit is when you go to try and do any kind of dry brushing or washes. It can overpower because of the texture of the Zimmerit. I want to try and think of a different way of doing it this time that I haven't done before.
Elmanox asks, was that the fat kid from The Simpsons?
No, that's Nelson, the haha kid. That was more, you know, Ralph Wiggum with it. It hurts my voice to try and do the high-pitched thing. Last time I did it right, I had Ares cracking up for about a good 15 minutes while we were playing Generation Zero. Because I didn't know he'd modded his copy of the game to allow him to fire gigantic salvos of rockets from his rocket launcher. And he did it over my head, and my only response was to do the I'm in danger as the world around me exploded.
Elmanox set off.
I was itchy today. But the way I did it was so unexpected, it just had him cracking up. It was definitely one of those you had to be there moments. We have now entered the quiet phase of concentration on this, so... Don't be afraid to ask me anything or say anything, just... My mind's not on talking right now, it's on... getting all this... sprayed out.
Almanac said
99 bottles of beer. Take one down, pass it around.
Almanac said 99 bottles of beer. Said if one of those bottles should accidentally fall.
98 bottles of beer on the wall.
Almanac said there'll be 98 bottles of beer on the wall.
I'm glad I don't drink anymore. Alcohol, I mean. I still drink water and other fluids, just not alcohol.
Almanac said the wheels on the bus goes round and round.
Now you're just trying to get earworms stuck in my head, aren't you? Aries tries that all the time. He has a favorite song to use. You may know of it. It's got a funny little tag, you know. Phenomena.
Said check out my YouTube page out.
Do 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 do.
Fleet in UNSM Horizon.
99? 99 balloons. Yep. That was a good one. Of course, the computer lady doesn't sing it as nicely. No, it doesn't sound like it knows how to be harsh and guttural enough with the German pronunciations. I'm sure I could find a German language thing for it, though. I don't know if we'd want that. I mean, it'd probably wind up sounding like the one character from Austin Powers. That was a hard fail there. I'm sorry. I still haven't made it to the Chernobyl power plant yet in the new update of Stalker 2. I started a new game so I can get a third ending on it. And I'm just taking my time. I want to get all the good gear. I've got the good shotgun. I still need to do the mission to get the updated version of the G36 they added. I've got the 9mm version of the MP7 that they added. Right now I've got a SIVA suit, but I want to get the Diamond exosuit. I think that is good for the green on the hull.
Almanac said may have been a TTS fail. But isn't that what Frau Barbacina screams in Austin Powers?
You know, I haven't seen those movies in so long. Like, I've literally only ever seen them once. Each film.
At DragonWorks said the lag I'm seeing is closer to 10 to 15 minutes.
Try refreshing your browser. Usually when the latency lag gets that bad, you gotta reset your browser. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it does. Or create a Twitch membership and sign up there and follow the channel there. It's free. There's little to no latency there, if you're not over there already. There's honestly not much I can do about it. It's a YouTube side of things then.
Almanac said, and just to aid your appreciation of said movie character, Frau Barbacina is a play on the German phrase Ein Verbissener Frau, which describes a grim, dark, or deeply embittered woman who pursues a goal with tense, stubborn, and inflexible determination, often lacking ease or joy.
Which, if you look at the character in the film, that is exactly what she portrays. So, joke is not lost.
At Femodel City 20 said grinning face with sweat emoji light interrupted my viewing. I love that desert yellow.
That's just it, it's not desert yellow. The German desert yellow was actually even more mustardy. Like, it was like a spicy dark brown mustard with like a 50-50 olive green mustard mix put over it. Think Tiger 131 in Bovington.
Almanac said it's day-old Dodger Stadium hot dog mustard.
And it's got to be Dodger Stadium. You can't grow good hot dogs indoors. Someone please tell me they recognize the movie that line came from. Probably not. That comment definitely just aged me about 30 years. I am glad my moisture trap is working really well, though, after the rain last night. Holy crap. I really hope I can make this tiger stand out, though. I've never really been satisfied with any of the tigers I've done in the past. I think my best to date is the backdating of the Tamiya 16th scale one to an initial production. I like how the paint on that turned out. And there was another one I'd done with just green and yellow. That was RC. But I sold that for a couple $100 years and years ago. Let's move you there for a moment. Sorry if I'm getting noticeably shaky. Having to maintain this tightness of posture is kind of getting to my hands a little bit. Trying to be careful and not drop the model, which has almost happened a couple times already.
At Femodel Study 20 said I have yet to build a tiger.
The Takom kit is excellent. Goes together real easily. If you want a simpler build, the Tamiya kit.
Almanac asks, was that quote from 2010, the year we made contact?
It was indeed Almanacs, but you probably had to Google it, didn't you? If you want a simpler build, the Tamiya Late Tiger is a quite exceptional model. Builds up real simply. You have to add your own Zimmerit, though. But there is a set of stick-on Zimmerit. Wow, where was my brain going? They do make a really good set of stick-on Zimmerit, which Ares just used on his Tiger. And I think it turned out exceptionally good. Better than I was expecting. If you don't want to do Zimmerit, then any early model Tiger would work in your favor on that, because they don't necessarily require it. The Dragon would be the next best Tiger to this one in terms of that, because it comes with Zimmerit molded in as well. But like this, it can be a bit unnecessarily partsy. But yes, that was from 2010. I don't know how horribly bad that's going to look, but we'll get the brown on and see what we can do. When I do the 1/9 scale BMW, the motorcycle, I'm probably going to paint the frame and everything Panzer Gray first, then put some masking fluid on it with a sponge, then overpaint it in the dark yellow with the green stripes, and then rub that off to show that it was a gray bike at one point that had gotten repainted. I like the idea of that. And that'll stand out nicely against the rider in his field gray motorcycle leathers. We're a third of the way there. Were you Googling it to confirm it, or were you Googling it, period? Like, had you already known it, you were just making sure?
At the Model Student 20 said I have the Academy with interior and the Dragon 3-in-1 with figs.
What version is the Academy one with the interior?
Said I was Googling it to confirm it.
If it's the mid-production one, you will need to get the Tamiya Zimmerit set should fit it for the outside. If it's an early production one, then build away and have fun.
At the model student 20 said.
Okay, yeah, you're fine without Zimmer then. Just go ahead and throw it together. Not that you need my permission anyway, but...
Almanac said even though the movie is very dated, it is one of my favorite sci-fi movies.
It's dated, but still relevant, and they left something out. I'd have to reread the book. I can't remember if it was in... No, it was at the beginning of 2061. But I think there was mention of it in the book for 2010. There was actually a Chinese mission that went slightly ahead, but crashed on Europa.
I also have an ARC model slide early 8 that is neat looking.
A what? What in a what now? That made no... An ARC model's what? We're at 2.5 hours, so that took almost an hour? Good lord.
Count Crimson just followed.
Thank you for that, Count Crimson. Welcome to the channel. I think you just put us at 975, which means we are now 25 subs away on YouTube from being able to build this wonderful model. We've gotten about 10 in the past week. So if you guys help to do that, I really do appreciate it. Or the algorithm finally decided to unstick itself. Either way, thank you very much. But as soon as we hit 1,000, no matter what I'm working on here, we're going to put it on pause and work on the Hummel. But first, I am going to take a pause, again, to move around. And we'll come back, we'll apply the brown, and go from there. So... put the pause screen up. I'll be back in just a few minutes.
Almanac said I have 2061, Odyssey 3 in my Audible library beaming face with smiling eyes emoji. Almanac said need to finish it someday. The reader is just not my cup of tea.
Alright, back. Yeah, 2061 was an interesting read. And honestly, not one of Clark's best.
Era Studios just redeemed free
Thank you, Aris. It's like Cocoon in space. It's geriatrics and stuff. It even goes over like Floyd's character and how he basically ruined his life after the fact. 3001 to me was actually worse and more superfluous. For those that didn't know, there's actually 4 books in the 2001 series. But I think it's 2061 that starts off with the events of the end of 2010 being watched by a wrecked Chinese rescue ship that tried to get to the Discovery first on Europa, as the plant creatures, the algae is evolving because of the monolith, as the plant creatures drag his ship into the ground and destroy it because of the lights on it. And he watches everybody escape as the Nova takes over the planet. I think. I could be misremembering. It kind of removed a lot of the mystery that 2010 ended with. But kind of like the Rama series, it should have stopped after 2. I couldn't even get through the 3rd Rama book. It went so deep into some places that just make you go, you're trapped on a ship in space. Why are you even thinking about having kids and continuing a lineage that far out in space? It's like that. No, the logic in the book just did not work, and was actually detrimental to the overall story. There we go. It's a bit darker than I'm used to, but I gotta say I like that brown. It feels more correct than stuff I've used in the past, so we're gonna live with it. This is why we're trying something different. That way every one of my German models doesn't wind up being painted in exactly the same colors.
Said I like it. Looks
cool. It's got almost a purplish vibe to it. It's hard to see. Oh, you can kind of see it. It's almost like a dark plum brown. Not bad, and it does fit with a lot of stuff that I've seen that has been recovered or found unrestored. But that's another reason I wanted to try and kind of update how I do things and kind of break free from that thought process of all the same color palette that I've always been using. Like, I might try these colors over the Tamiya that I sprayed on the 250 half track and see what it does. Because the underlayer can influence what you're putting over.
Some of them might even approach true to life colors? Only said in jest, but how much do you consider color choice? Is reality ultra important, or is room to play more important?
To me, room to play is more important, but if you can get closer on your initial pass, you can get a better overall idea. Again, use the M60 that I built as a good example. The colors I used were close enough for me for the 1980s modular camo colors. It was forest green with dark earth and black and sand crow's feet. And if you look at the model before I weathered it, it is extremely vibrant. Like, unrealistically vibrant. But if you look at it after I weathered it, it looks right. You know? They got toned down in just the right degree that to your eye it looks right. The colors may not be 100% correct. Ow! But when all is said and done, they look right. You know? So I don't care if these colors are 100%. But if I can get close, it makes the job easier up here. You know, I can think about how to go about it better. For the most part, yeah. But I'd rather the color be grounded and solid than comedically overdone. And by that I mean, you see some of the people that do like the color modulation, where they'll use cards and mask off and have a really high highlight along this edge fading down, and then another one here fading down. It creates an unrealistic breakup of the body as the light hits it, because you know light doesn't play that way. But they do it, and it's touted as this wonderful technique when it's actually a bunch of hokey horse shit. It looks terrible, it feels terrible to the eye, and it makes me not want to look at your stuff. I mean, there is artistry in model building, don't get me wrong. But when what you do counters your brain's ability to go, yes, that looks right, and you're breaking how light works on the model itself in order to show off the angles of the metal panels, that's the excuse I've always heard. It doesn't make sense. Now, can some things in color modulation be used well to, say, break up a surface? Yeah. But every time I've seen it done, for the most part, it's been done badly, and to the extreme where it's counterproductive to the model instead of helping it. Kind of like back in the day when they would over dry brush stuff to pop the details out, and they'd be using almost white for the final dry brushing, and that ends up making the model look chalky and faded. I like to try and keep the color saturation in the subject.
Almanac said I only asked because I once got challenged why I had not painted my mecha in the realistic color. And all the time I'm thinking this is a giant, not real imaginary cartoon toy. Even the self-shading in the cartoon changed every 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, when it comes to stuff like that, that's different. For a Gundam, as long as you got red, white, and blue and the mostly correct spots, that's all that matters. It's not like there's a specific federal standard color for those things. Same thing on the TIE Fighter. It's a blue-gray, right? Depending on who took the photo, when, how long the model had been out, the lighting that you have no idea about where the photo was taken, it can range from a flanker blue-gray to azure blue to RLM 78. You know, to me, like when I do the TIE Fighter, I'm using RLM 78. Why? Mainly because it's the closest color I've got in my inventory. I'm really not gonna go out and track down the original Floquil paint used and match that and all that crap. And yeah, I know there's that, what's the paint series that specializes in the sci-fi paint paint scheme stuff now. Archive X? I know there's Archive X. No. The hobby has become so overcrowded with this elitist specialized shit that everybody says you have to buy in order to finish a model. Why did I get these paints? Because I wanted to try something different. I wanted to see how this held up to the commonly accepted colors that are now out there these days, like what the Oz Armor Museum uses, the French Museum, Bovington's starting to use them. And if you compare them to those samples, yeah, they're holding up pretty well. But I've also seen a lot of other samples, but those samples are also over 50 years old. Some have been under the ground, some have been in a farmer's barn. So you don't know how or why or what caused the color shift, if there is one. And I've seen enough examples of, say, take a 7.62 millimeter ammo can, like take an MG42 ammo can, right? Something we're all familiar with, or even the helmets. You put them all together, you take like 20 of them, put them together, you'll have at least 10 different shades of certain colors in there. And they're all supposed to be the same shade. So I'm just playing with this color here to see if I like it, you know? Does it make me a perfectionist? Hell no. I just want to try something different. I want to break my own patterns in terms of the paints I use and how I do it to see if I can do something that feels a bit better to me. I kind of like what's going on here. The finish I'm getting does feel more right, but in that I'm gonna have to learn how to adjust it differently.
Colors don't look the same far away as they do up close.
There's that as well. That's another debate, though, because when I do this, I try to paint to true value, because I know the dust effects I add, the washes, and everything else I do is going to adjust the intensity of the color. It's going to mute it. It's going to tone it down a bit. So that's going to adjust how it looks. It'll add that atmospheric diffusion effect a little bit. Again, it happened on the M60. But I've seen people take that to the nth extreme, where they add the atmospheric diffusion to the color. Well, they'll add the atmospheric diffusion fading to their color, and then when it's done, it looks too light to most people. Yeah, these colors work well together. But the point of camouflage isn't to hide the thing, it's to break up its outline, which these do, you know. If you were to see this hiding, you know, from a distance, obviously, but if you look at that, right, say that's sitting in a forest. Right, if you were to see that through a forest, that would break up its silhouette in amongst the tree trunks, then add in the light filtering from above, the leaves, the shadows of the branches. It would all work together in concert to break up the silhouette. You're not trying to make the tank invisible with paint alone. You're just trying to break up the silhouette and make it less recognizable. Well, don't start watching videos on color theory. There's people that try to apply that to model building. If you're doing fantasy figures and things that aren't based so much in reality, and you're trying to do things like that to give it a more painterly feel, that's fine. You know, when you're playing more with light, things like that, fine. Go ahead and throw color theory out there all you like. You know, no problem. But when you're trying to recreate what is really a true object, especially something like a tank or an armored car, just paint it the right colors. There is no color theory to be had in that regard. Not to the avant-garde level they're trying to take it. You know? You're not trying to compose a picture. You're not Rembrandt or Van Gogh. Is there a place for color theory? Sure. Is my desk the place for color theory? Nope. But that is, again, one of those things that you use at your leisure. And honestly, take with a grain of salt, too. To me, that's overthinking the hobby and how to do it.
At the Model Student 20 said I'm practicing stuff like glowing effects, light reflection.
See, the best thing you can do is observe the environment around you. Observation will fix a lot more questions than anything.
Lucy the Mad Tree said a tank is trying to not be seen. Generally, color theory is useful to make things stand out.
Exactly, Lupu. So, like, for Warhammer, color theory's great. Right? Because you're wanting that subject to pop. For fantasy figures, things like that, more the better on color theory. If you're trying to replicate something like this, like a real-world object, you don't need to get so hoity-toity about it. But I've seen people try and get hoity-toity about color theory with tanks. But these, again, are some of the same people that also prime something completely in black.
Lupu the Mad 2 said for fantasy stuff and I guess richly colored medieval to like Napoleonic things, I think color theory works good.
And you're right.
The Model Student 20 said I'm doing a flame job on a weather vane. It's a 57 Chevy with the arrows on either end.
Well, that's neat. And I'm sure there's somebody out there that would argue the color theory on a tank with me, but nah. I'll introduce you to a wall. You can sit there and argue with that for a few hours. I'm not saying you are, Lupu, just in general. trying not to mirror it, because unfortunately that's what Takom did in their instructions. Just like on the Puma. And that's the other downside of this particular tank only having one picture of it existing. But yeah, something to avoid in Takom. Look at the side views. They're mirrored.
Luke the Mad 2 said if you are doing color theory on a tank, you are using a different philosophy than most scale modeling philosophy.
Exactly. But there are those out there who've done it. Like I said, they're the same ones they'll prime a model completely in black, and then try and paint sand over it and wonder why.
Because it's your model.
Yeah, but they'll wonder why they have to use 3 bottles of sand over black instead of the 1 bottle they'd normally used. Maybe it's because you're painting light over dark?
Student 20 said they would argue paint theory while using their $40 bespoke wash dispensing system, rolling on the floor laughing emoji. At Model City 20 said camel looks great on it.
And if you're wondering where my background comes from, I was going for art major until, you know, some idiots flew some planes into some buildings. So yeah, I do have an art background. Not the best one.
Almanac said if we can't get hoity-toity, can we at least get tutti-frutti, or at very minimum bazooka rattlers?
Ooh, yeah, bazooka rattler's great. Yes, let's do that.
At Model City 20 said way great. Had to try.
Yeah, I haven't fixed it yet, model student, sorry.
Luke the Mad 2 said if I ever want to get back to painting and doing camo for the first time, I would paint my J-36 Figan fighter jet.
Why would you punish yourself like that? Because I know exactly the camo you're talking about, and... yeah, that's... no.
Luke the Mad 2 said because it looks cool.
Says the man wanting to hand paint the Alien Hind scheme, so... yeah, go ahead. Go ahead with your bad self. That's okay.
Luke the Mad 2 said, yeah, lots of ice. Almanac said time for me to pop smoke and head for bed.
No worries.
At Model City 20 said I spent 20 years in interior design. Almanac said later legends.
Take it easy, have a good night, get plenty of rest. Actually, that turned out better than I thought it would in terms of the coverage. Let me run one more squiggle. down this way. But just like this specific tank, for example, there's going to be somebody out there who's going to tell me that I've got the wrong camo on it. And I will posit this to them. Prove it. Why? Because there's only one picture of this tank. I've said it a few times this stream. And it shows it from the rear with half the stuff missing off of it. There's no side, top, or front views of it, ever. So the best I can do is period correct colors and something approximating a scheme used by that unit at that time. That's it. Yeah, I like how this is looking. Alright, the road wheels do not get that. Some Tigers had the camo painted on them. Most typically did not. But seeing as how we're at the 3-hour mark, and there is other adulting I have to do today, this is probably a good point to stop. So that way I can let it rest. Because there's some small details to paint up, and then I've got to clear coat it for the few decals that go on it. And then Friday, we will work on... Yeah, so off stream, I'm just going to paint up the tools, do a little bit of work on the decals, and then... hold on, let me volume down a bit here so I can hear myself think. So, yeah, between now and Friday, I'm just going to throw some detail paint on the tools, the tow cables, get the decals on it, get it basic detail wash and flat coat, real simple stuff, and then we'll get into the actual weathering, the accumulation of dirt, and things like that. In the meantime, I need to find some more styrofoam so I can make the slightly sunken road for the hedgerow that I want to put it behind. Because we know this vehicle was up around Caen and Villers-Bocage at the time of Whitman's famous little outrage when he completely decimated that British column. So, because this is the tank that he... Alright, no worries. This is the tank he died in. This was not essentially his Tiger. This Tiger was actually assigned to somebody else who had gotten wounded or become sick or something, and he had taken command of it on that particular day. Whitman's Tiger was actually lost during his rampage when it got stuck in the village, and he had to abandon it. So, this is just the one that he wound up dying in. But yeah, there's going to be a nice little raised hedgerow along one side. I don't know if I'm going to have other troops on the base with it. I'll cross that bridge when I get to it. But right now it should just be the tank and the hedgerow. And yeah, that's where we are. But we are far enough along that I can do another update tonight on shorts. Yes, they were. So the base color was their Dunkelgelb or dark yellow. The brown is armor brown. And the green was their medium olive. And then before I sprayed the green and brown on, I added like a 75-25 mix of the dark yellow and this ivory to the dark yellow, and kind of went over it a little bit just to heighten it a little bit. It felt too deep to me still. So, and they're all from this Vallejo set if you want to look it up on Amazon, or if your shop has it. So yeah, after I get the detail wash done and some of the detail painting stuff, we'll go into more of the specifics of like the chipping and weathering and dirt distribution. I'll even show you kind of what the undercarriage looks like, since we can't get a clear picture of like the Bovington Tiger after a good mud run on a rainy day. The only thing I can do is use my RC one to show me kind of where it deposits in similar situations. But I like how it looks. I like how it's coming along. It's a good start.
At Model Student 20 said, yeah, my shop has those cool.
And these same colors would have been used on the early ones as well, once they adopted the dark yellow base scheme. So if you want to do up your Academy one like that, I think that comes with the markings for S13, which was a yellow and green stripe vehicle. But yeah, I'm happier with how this is coming out. And I'll have another short up this evening. Maybe after I get the cables and stuff painted. I don't know. But it'll definitely show it far enough along that there's been a change since the last update. And hopefully get more people in. So, but for everybody who has subbed or followed, thank you very much. We are now 25 away from building the Hummel. So 25 more YouTube side subs, and this guy gets built. And I will build it. I won't let it sit on a shelf and collect dust and make videos on how rare it is. I'm building it. So, yeah, thanks everybody for watching and hanging out.
09 Davo said, whoa, just got back. Damn, you made progress on that.
Hey, Davos. Yeah, we're wrapping up. We're at the 3-hour mark.
Said, I think it looks really good, man.
Now I know how you guys feel when I come into a Solway video and leave. All you need is a good airbrush and a good needle. And do you guys want me to do a video on freehanding camouflage? It seems like that's kind of a lost art now. A lot of people rely on masking putties or paper masks, things like that. And it's really simple. It really is. Yeah, let me know if you want me to do a quick video on freehanding camouflage. I can do it on just a plain piece of plastic, and that way I can demonstrate things like, okay, here's what happens if you spray straight. You know, stuff like that. Oh, so do I. I tried masking putty on the Dragonfly, and I don't like how those edges look. That's what I was thinking too, Davos. Just, you know, turn off all the excess stuff, kind of like I do with my reviews, and just do a quick basics on freehanding camo thing. I'll probably do that. I'll think about doing that during the week. Kind of like a filler thing until Friday. So yeah. Thanks again to everybody.
At Model Student 20 said, I think doing my freehand, you're my inspiration.
Yeah, exactly, Davos. The putty edges look unnaturally sharp. And by that, even if you look at a machine-painted Abrams or Leopard 2, there is a very slight feather to the edges. When you use masking putty or things like that, you don't get that at all, and it just looks very fake. Robert Goodnight just came in, and right as we're wrapping up. But yeah, I'll do some detail painting tonight. Try and get a short up for progress so far. And yeah, we'll be back Friday to do even more. So
09 Davo said talking of the Leopard 2, from the photos, they look kind of freehand.
no, if you take 3 Leopard 2A7s and put them next to each other, they all have exactly the same camouflage and exactly the same spots. They are painted by a machine. There's sometimes that they're touched up by the crews with a spray can, so they will have a more freehand look, but from the factory they should all be exactly the same. That's also why on an Abrams, like, you know, this one here, when you see pictures of them in the desert, that fine talcum powder dust catches in the overspray, which is rougher, between the two colors, because when they spray it, the center color goes on nice and even, but the fan from the overspray on the very edge is rougher. That catches the dust, and that's why you'll see an Abrams in the desert have what looks like fine white lines painted between the colors. That's actually dust sticking to the overspray. It's really weird. It's a weird phenomenon. It even happens on the Canadian Leopard 2s as well. But yeah, we're going to wrap it up, and I'll be back Friday, and I'll catch you all later. Thanks for hanging out.